and Eric at Coram Farm. We are a year 4 Oklahoma flower farm that sells retail market bouquets from our roadside stand. We have been absent on YouTube for a couple weeks because we've been...
How long has it been?
It's been like 3 weeks. But we've been thoroughly enjoying our break because we decided heading into year 4 that we were going to be done a little bit after 4th of July week. So like the first week of July, or kind of when the Lisianthus, we're done and we didn't have any more of those, and to just take a break. And we have done that. Our fields are flipped and tilled and silage tarped largely. We're just kind of doing like maintenance tasks and weeding and odds and ends, but largely we're not working full farm days. We're not selling flowers and doing all of that. We've been enjoying our break, but I feel like...
I love how you say this every year.
What?
As if we truly just button it up and then...
And just kick back and lounge.
And kick back at a beach resort.
Okay, well, we were like pouring sweat for like 4 hours this morning doing stuff, but...
Yeah, she keeps pitching the breaks as if it's like there's really breaks on flower farms.
That's called, it's just property farm maintenance. I'm not harvesting grasshopper zinnias at like 5 a.m. to beat the heat. So for me, I feel like I'm on a break. Not having to do the like making bouquets and harvesting and selling and all of that. But the break is over. We're back to make a video.
I was also gone on work trip for a while.
That's true. Other life was happening. I will say before our video here, I just finished filming an hour-long all about subscriptions video for Patreon. It covers everything from what our subscription looks like, pros and cons of doing a subscription, if you decide to do a subscription, how you should run it, how you should launch it, how you should market it, all of that, all encompassing everything subscription. So I'll put a link for that in the description. I think if you're considering adding a subscription or you're having issues...
I do the pointing.
Yeah. If you're having issues, with your subscription or just want to learn if it might be right for you or not, I think it's worth it. I also understand that people, some people just don't want to sign up for things, which I totally get. So I've made it an option to just purchase the video, like a one-time purchase. You can have it, you can reference it, you can take notes, you can have the video, one price. So I'll put that link in if you don't want to sign up for other stuff. So 2 options there, but I think it's a helpful video. I would have liked to have it.
You can tell she's in talking mode.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, we're just doing it. Talking for an hour. But I would have liked to have it when we launched our subscription a couple years ago. So there's that. But in this video, we are going to talk about year 5 on our flower farm and really the big change we are going to make next year. I can do videos in the fall about our crop plans and specific varieties and all those like fun farmy details. But from a business model standpoint, we're going to make some changes next year. So we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we've had a good chance this year to go through another year doing this, and we had our best spring ever from a sales perspective,
which was great,
but also our worst year from
a growing perspective,
like the high-end crop that we're getting used to on our farm.
The great flooding of 2025.
Right. And I think a lot, I went up the place I was at traveling recently, they also said it's been very rainy up there, and it's a pretty long ways away from here. So yeah. I think in general, a lot of us are dealing with a much wetter year, probably across a certain bubble if you drew it in the US.
Yeah.
That's made it very, probably east of the Rockies up to, maybe even up to some areas in New England have just been getting a lot more rain than usual. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we've talked about our spring in detail, so I don't need to get into it.
If you missed that video, I'll put a link. We did a whole spring review. We went through each flower, pros and cons, and then overview thoughts of how our spring went and stuff. But
I'll do it.
Okay.
But our summer has been probably our lowest revenue summer since we launched.
In 4 years, yeah.
And we've been trying to figure out a bit why.
It's not because of flower quality, because we've dialed in how to grow flowers. Like we didn't have some catastrophic problem.
Well, our zinnias didn't do well.
Well, they never do well.
But our zinnias are a plant that we have. How would you describe your relationship to zinnias?
Rage, anger, disgust, annoyance.
They're like a necessary evil that a lot of flower farmers think.
Yeah.
But we started thinking in our noggins.
Ooh.
Are they necessary?
Are you actually pulling your weight? But let's step back for what you said about like our lowest summer sales. Like
in perspective.
Yeah, like I mean, we've done really well, revenue this year despite problems, but like it just was not. And our numbers, I think a lot of people would be really excited if they had our numbers. So I'm not trying to be like overly negative, but when we have our goals and we have other metrics within our own farm of years past, it has been not as great. And that has made it hard because the growing conditions and challenges were hard. And so we were working really hard and then our sales just didn't totally match. And we were trying to troubleshoot why, but then we came to the conclusion, let's just not.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a particularly tough climate, especially when the heat starts to take off.
Yeah.
And the grasses start to take off. We're starting to learn the rhythms of this area, which is, part of learning your place and your people there and what they may buy. I think last year was a really popular summer for us because we had a great spring and then we sold a whole bunch of summer subscriptions. And yes. I think that excitement, people bought it, but we didn't have nearly as many come back this year to buy that same subscription.
I talked about that in the video, kind of
to make it worth our while with that. So we're thinking through. I mean, this channel is trying to pitch this somewhere in between. I know many of you watch and consume flower farming content, and then you have, I think you've got a lot of people who just love gardening and selling flowers and are comfortable with, a certain threshold of revenue that, probably pays a little bit back into their pocket. And then you obviously have like the aspirational 6-figure farms that some of the big names, like the ones we've interviewed on this channel in the past, aspire to, where you probably need 1 or 2 employees. You're kind of more becoming behind the scenes while they do the labor, and you're working on sales avenues and management and crop planning and getting all that dialed in, which, at a $300,000 level, is probably a lot of office work to time it right and to get the planting right and then to figure out which products don't move and which products do. I mean, just like any business, flower farming is like any business, and any business with products requires that constant churning and thinking about what changes do we make, which crops should we not focus on. And I think we had that this summer. I started to ask some fundamental questions about some of the crops we were growing.
Yes.
And whether or not they actually bring people out for them. I mean, we know how to grow sunflowers really well, and they look fantastic, like way better because we know the spacing and we have the right varieties.
Quality.
They're not too big and chunky, and they're not too thin and short. I mean, they're dialed in with the right stem width and the right stem height and the right, proper time to harvest. But I don't think people really, I think, we have a picture over here on our wall, which we filmed in the past, of like a big sunflower field. It's a good aesthetic. I don't know if sunflowers really move people to come out and buy.
Not here. Because again, things are regional, but not here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I say evaluate your product and whether it's moving, it's very personal.
Yeah.
Can you sell it? Is it worth it? I mean, we attempt to have certain principles on this channel to say, big principles like don't grow too many things and know your product. But that is why, like, if you could grow a lot and not have any insight into what sells and what doesn't. Yeah. And then we also looked at other summer crops and we're like, do people really come out for that?
Right. Because I think people love driving by our farm and seeing the sunflower field. I think when people see hold on, to give it a little bit of a pause there. Sorry. I think when people see our marketing and our pictures of sunflowers, they really enjoy the beauty of the picture. I think when it comes to, I'm going to get in my car on a Saturday morning and I'm going to drive to a farm and I'm going to give them money for flowers and I'm going to be excited to have them in my home. I don't think that is the sunflower. If anything, I think it might even be they would prefer bouquets without sunflowers. So, because our biggest sales, I mean, it's a little apples to oranges because we did do a discount price, like a 2-for-1.
Well, that's another analysis we can talk about. That
Yeah,
will.
but just for a data point, like, yeah, we did a buy 2 for $40 discount, but none of those bouquets had sunflowers, and it was our highest summer sale. So yes, I think people love a good discount, but also it didn't have sunflowers. So
yeah, I never finished
sorry.
well, I mean, I want to make sure I connect the thoughts. Like, we try to pitch ourselves as like serious, profitable flower farming that is well above like hobby garden sales. And I know people will get upset at that, but I mean, like, there's just a certain level, probably $10,000 of revenue, if that, selling, a few from a roadside stand. And I think that's fantastic. Share color with your community. That's a great thing to do, and we're happy that people do it. I think a lot of people do that in the summer, which is also another reason why I think we're probably gonna, as we'll get to our conclusions on what we're gonna do in summer.
Yes.
And then there's obviously like the big farms that try to move 6 figures, and like we know now, having been pretty successful and somewhere between, that would take a lot of work. And where our kids are and our ages, like, we're making decisions to be somewhere in between. What are the principles that would take you there?
Mm-hmm.
But we're also obviously doing this, as a side business, an extra business between the two of us. It's probably, I don't know if it would be a full time for an entire year, but it's probably pretty close. I would say 1,000 to 1,200 hours between the two of us each year. So, if you were to add up all the nickels and dimes hours that add up. But the principles we have here scale, like they would work on a big farm.
That's a great way to put it, because the choices we're making now, if suddenly Eric was just like, I want to go all in on the farm, I want to be a 6-figure farm, we could take what we're doing now and scale it to that level, right. Not have to make a ton of big changes to fix inefficiencies or crop choice problems or pricing issues. Like, we could just keep chugging higher if we wanted to dedicate that amount of labor and time. So I think that's a good point. In a way that hobby gardening would have to make some big changes, logistical changes, in order to scale to get to kind of like where we are at, which is kind of that middle point. That's a good point.
So in that mind, and then the calculus of it, the big decision we're making, which is going to be the bumper on this video, like big changes for next year. We're going to largely walk away from post-Mother Day sales, with one caveat, because you love Lysianthus, and I do too, and they grow well here.
Yeah,
they do well with the heat in the tunnel, and they're just an extra. They've been 3 years now, and we've just largely had no fuss issue. Even with not much tending, once they're a hard plant because they're every 6 inches and plugs like that.
They're a long grow time, but they
reliably show up end of June.
Yeah.
And they just pump out a huge amount of flowers. And I think we'll talk about probably pricing on them. And then we're trying to think of a couple of flowers to go with them.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
And we want to be able to keep the farm out there, but like, we're going to walk away. I mean, let's tell them what crops we're going to walk away from.
Yeah. So we've noticed, again, with observing, and I think this is what happens when you've done it, now we've done it 4 years, you have enough data to make these decisions, and you don't know what you don't know until you're patient and you put in the time. But it's very clear that we have just like absolute bust the doors down Mother's Day weekend. It's our highest weekend of the year. It's just really awesome. Like, our community wants our flowers, and we have an opportunity to grow the amount of sales on that weekend. We haven't hit that ceiling. But after that, if you were to like plot chart it, it just dives off a cliff. One of our lowest weekends is the weekend after Mother's Day, which makes sense. People just spent a lot of money. The flowers last a long time. It's graduation is happening. Summer is about to start. And we just we do awesome in spring. We peak at Mother's Day, and then we just slowly chunk down. And it's also hard to have flowers in May here because it's our transition month. Up north, the transition month is June, but for us, it's May. And then June, the horrible summer conditions here set in, and other issues that we can talk about. So it's like, why? There is growth possibility for us within spring that could make up for pulling back summer sales. And so like post Mother's Day, end of May, and then June until Lizzie's, we're going to be closed. That'll be in flux, but it'll be probably 5 or 6 weeks. And then we want to come back and do a short burst of when our Lisianthus is blooming, probably 3 weeks worth of sales. And going back to like sunflowers and other issues, everyone can grow a zinnia pretty much from seed from the Dollar Tree, and sunflowers. And that's often when you have the like $10 jar people pop up. And we were
You're gonna upset people now.
I know, but we were thinking, what can we do that differentiates ourselves? And so instead of a race to the bottom or losing sales trying to sell sunflowers and zinnia bouquets, knowing ours are better quality and blah, 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 customers might not know that. Why don't we go the other direction and be completely different from what everyone else around us is doing and lean into that? So we are going to do, in theory, with our crop plan, Lisianthus, Celosia, and Gladiola bouquets. No one is growing those. And the Celosia I will probably pick pastel colored palette so that it's a softer palette, because typically around now is when you have like the bright yellow zinnia, the bright red, orange, purple, fuchsia zinnia jars. So why not go the other direction and do a softer palette that's
softer, more feminine colors.
Yeah, that has flowers that no one else, is easily replicating, and lean into that. Also, I had a lot of interest privately for wholesale Lisianthus, and you can sell wholesale Lisianthus here for a pretty decent price. And I want to explore wholesale with Lizzie's in particular, because we grow them well and they're in high demand and I can get a good price for them. And that might be another revenue opportunity for us that doesn't combat with like the summer problems that retail can have.
Yeah, so we're going to walk away from the sunflower field. It's not, I mean, like the way I calculated that at about $2 a stem has never panned out. So we've got 2-3 years of data now that you just don't even extract it fast enough. Well, the way it grows is very difficult.
In our recipes, I charge $2 a stem. But in our
no, I'm saying we don't, like if I plant 500 per row, and I would say that's going to net $1,000. And then I would take some number of that and say we get about 70% of that. That's not true. I would say we're probably more like 40% of a row. And we've actually had a hard time here mastering the way that they grow early in the year is kind of like you can succession plant one every week, and then you'll get 3 or 4 rows that mature around the same time, which is part of why we weren't extracting 70%.
Yeah.
And then like we had, and I mean, some of it's exactly to how our property is and how the shading works. Mm-hmm. And we have got some mature trees that cast shade over that field. Probably would do better in different locations, but they also shade each other. And so, I mean, like this is why people probably spread out theirs a little bit more than we do. We put like 4 feet and plant about 700 in a row with a jank cedar. It's easy to get in the ground, but then you have a lot of work to terminate and haul away and then retill. And then I've got drip lines here because our rain is inconsistent and we always need to be able to turn that on.
And if people are not coming out.
And if people aren't coming out, and like, I would see, you would probably pick half the row. And
I cut, I'm on it.
You cut hard, yeah. But I mean,
but if I'm not going to sell all of them, I'm not going to take
It's just clearly not a crop. Like, hypothetically, it did, but we're analyzing it, and it's just like we're not selling enough for the amount of work.
Yeah.
And then we're having the same thing with, like, the field, like the zinnia plant out with 3 or 4 rows.
Okay. Zinnias are...
And, we've always hated them from year one.
Just say it.
Zinnias are out.
Zinnias are out! I've been threatening this for years.
And, yes, I think that there are a source of revenue, but again, we're in between, and we're just saying, why spend so much time to do it if the return isn't sufficient? And a lot of flower farmers battle, especially in farmers markets, the local produce farmers who grow those crops very easily. They just scatter the seed in a few rows, and then they bring very cheap jars as a loss leader for you to come buy their produce. And like we're battling those people, and it's pretty frustrating. And that's a meta issue in flower farming. And I just think the demand, like you said, like we have to figure out what flowers can we grow that nobody else will.
Yeah.
Like none of these produce farmers are going to do the Lizzies. They're not going to do Glads, and they're not doing Celosia, even though they probably could add that in. They're just doing your typical
Or if they're doing
summer.
Celosia, it's the bright, bold, poorly harvested
Right.
Celosia.
So we're gonna start thinking like, what bouquet can we make that attracts a lot? And people are nice, so it's hard to sometimes extract the feedback directly on social media and say like, which one would you prefer? And people used to be like, those are beautiful, I love those, but then they didn't come out.
Yeah.
Not as much as they did last year. I mean, we had better zinnias last year. I do think zinnias sell here still, even though they're easy to grow.
People like zinnias.
They like them, and they're a nice flower, but from a labor perspective, they're just not doing it for us. And most people will say, like, we hate them, but we kind of need them. We're just making a decision because, like I said, like our farm is part income, and we want to practice principles that nets us. You know, some pay for our labor in it, if you want to look at it like that. And like we have other values we've talked about before with teaching your kids hard work and stuff like that. But we also know that there's more we can do in the spring, especially on Easter and Mother's Day. You know, we get a unique opportunity here in Oklahoma to sell a lot of our flowers on Easter because of how early flowers bloom in Oklahoma, which a lot of northern farms don't.
Yeah, they don't hit Easter.
They don't hit the Easter if it's, you know, it's late March or early April. And next year it's early April next year.
It'll be like sweet spot.
For us, it's going to be banger. And like those are our days that we could clearly sell another 100 or 200 bouquets. We got to figure out how to do that. Like, how do you hit those mountaintops on those days that set the tone for the rest of your year?
Yeah.
And then like the other days in the spring. And then obviously, the big thing that we're looking at is we have to supplement our Mother's Day with peonies, which means like, and they're very expensive to buy locally. Our local supplier, does an amazing product. I mean, like
they're perfect peonies.
She knows how to do it. But everything we're planting in the summer, when you have I work full time, so like I have to go out there on Saturday. We've got a baby. It's been a hard year from like getting out, and most of you know this. You're always like, well, how do you do it with kids? But like, it does impact you when you have very young kids. And like our newborn baby has made it extra hard to get out and to be productive. Right now, we're like eyeing the monitor because when he wakes up
off to the side, it's the baby monitor.
And we got to terminate this video so that we can go get with him.
Yeah.
But we want to grow more peonies. But like when you're spending time on these, like I almost want to say like summer's a loss leader for farmers. Loss leader might be the wrong way to do it. Maybe it's like a break even. Well, like a lot of northern farms they're gonna get their banger dahlia crop later in the year.
Yeah.
And they just want to keep like a continuity of sales. Right. And they have a much shorter growing season too.
Yeah. I mean,
we have a long growing season.
March to October.
I mean, it's 24 weeks, right?
Yeah, it's something crazy. It's longer than that.
And like the north, it's like 28 weeks. It's like whatever it is. It's like it starts late March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Like you could technically grow 8 months here if you really put it. And then in the north, it's like they get their 4 months or something. Like they're 16 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's banger in those 16 weeks. But for us, it's like stretching out this far. I think we're just kind of picking like which part of that 8 weeks should we focus on. And we're just going to say like spring is where we love farming. Obviously, the weather here is far more amenable to it. Yes. And like we got to get peonies right because they're just too lucrative and they're too expensive to buy.
But they're also really high labor here, and we need to have margin for that.
Well, but when we say high labor, it's because like we always looking at the grasses that we need to go weed. I mean, I think it's a particular problem for immature peonies because there's so much of that circle in the ground that's exposed to sunlight. And then we get a whole bunch of grass pressure in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Some of our ones that came back this year and surprised us have done a better job of shading out the grasses and will do better. But like we're just like looking at each other and like we gotta get peonies.
Yeah.
Like because if our focus is gonna be spring,
we could make
and we're gonna have to maintain them through, and like people are gonna go nuts. And people also like buying peony roots, and so like we're thinking about the root
give the people what they want.
Sales, like we sold, what was it? How many? 40 this spring?
In like an hour.
People went nuts. And we can get, the different varieties. And so we have the brand, and we're gonna turn that around. We're gonna think about internet sales, but we're just want to get we're gonna bang. We want to nail spring.
Yeah.
And as part of that, we decided also that we're going to get a 30 by 84 Zimmerman high tunnel.
You're announcing it.
I shouldn't say we are. It's here.
It's right over there.
It is so much more metal than a basic Caterpillar tunnel.
Prepare yourself for fall tunnel videos, because that's going to be our whole life.
But it's going to be master the tunnel. This is truly a climate that needs the right tunnel.
Yeah.
And also needs a tunnel that has the heat ventilation in the dome, because as the heat kicks in, that hot bubble at the top of a tunnel is hard on spring flowers and can also speed it up. And we want the exhaust fans. We just want to do the whole thing. And the winds here are insane. So we've got to figure out how to do spring well and specialize in it.
Excited to just be this is what we're doing. These are the boundaries, and we want to do it really well. And then that leaves other parts of the year for other priorities or focus.
And we do want our summers to be I want all my kids to enjoy the summer for summer things here.
Yeah.
When it's just they're just going to be that's a high chance. Our culture doesn't really celebrate work like it used to, unfortunately, and kids can develop mentalities of I hate X and I don't want it when I'm older. So we're trying to balance living and trying to encourage them to be life is work. Work brings you joy, and work is what God made you for. Don't just try to, you don't live life for leisure.
Yes.
Right. So we want to have a different mentality on our farm and teach our kids that, but we also live in a culture that teaches them they'll see all their friends going to the lakes and at the pools and going on their vacations in the summer.
In the summer, yeah.
Right. And so it's they'll look at that and say well, why can't I do that? Why does my dad make us do all this farm work in the summer?
Make us weed peonies every Saturday.
Right. And so I want to make some decisions as a family to say you know what, we'll have our intense season. And let's be honest, it's we're not, when we analyze what,
we're not going to sell less next year.
Based on this just for example, 2 weeks ago before I went on my business trip, I ripped out the zinnias, the celosia, and the marigolds we had, and we covered the field because you just have to do it here.
And I made an Instagram reel that made people
really upset about cutting it all down. But we just have to do it here. As much as we got plenty compared to most people around here for the pollinators and the birds to love.
The pollinators.
And we're going to work on that stuff on our property over time with trying to do some pasture grass, blah, blah, blah. But instead of weeding peonies and trying to keep them thriving and get the water hooked up, I had to spend time to terminate the field as opposed to the labor over there. And I don't think the labor to stay on top of weeding is going to be the same as the labor of what we did.
Yeah, but the money that keeping those peonies healthy and happy will be so much
the return
more
on investment
than the stupid zinnias that we touched 18 times this year and did not sell.
We had to make the fabric, we had to plant, we had to make sure they were watered. You had to deal with the mildew.
We had to
spray.
We
the
were
typical
going
spray.
to net, but then we quit in a rage and didn't net them. Yeah.
And meanwhile, all that energy, you still have stuff in the tunnel that overlaps. We're planting those zinnias, beginning of April.
We are planting our summer crop
in the month of April.
Season is starting and is at the highest point. So that's also part of a labor decision for our family, and what we can focus on is I don't want to be planting a 60 by 60 field of summer annuals when my whole tunnel is blooming with ranunculus and people are beating down our doors to buy them. I want to be harvesting.
April is so hard.
Yeah.
And you're exhausted, and then you're I guess I could go get more, I could harvest and process and get more bouquets out there. And I think more than likely we'll have other decisions with spring, probably have one more day a week. I don't know if have you announced if you're going to try to do a spring sub again?
Yeah, and we're going to do a spring sub, but
it's
a labor distribution of where we can maximize profit and also feel less worked.
And we enjoy the spring here. It's the most enjoyable time. Outside the fact that it can be incredibly windy, but
outside the tornadoes, we love spring.
Yeah. We don't get tornadoes on our property.
But we had one down in town.
We did. But in general, it's just a pleasant time. The grasses are green.
It's beautiful.
the days that aren't high winds are just, they're just like most places in spring. Like you really enjoy them. The doors are open.
Yeah.
It's nice to farm and garden because all the grasses are gone at that point. They're dead, and they're not going to,
bugs are
they won't come. There's no big bugs out.
Yeah.
And our spring is really early, and it's cool, and it can oscillate between days in the 80s and then days in the 60s.
Yeah.
It's just a pleasant spring
wonderful.
here. And then our falls obviously are very nice and mild here. And our winters can be too. Like, can get
We're
super
outside
cold
in the winter, yeah.
but you can have plenty of days in the upper 60s and mid 70s in the middle of like a February.
January,
And that's part of some of the problems we have here with spring. But in general, it's not enough.
Like, no, thank you.
It's not enough to like offset chill hours and be a big problem for that. But we have to focus a lot more on our tunnel. We're trying to figure out, we got to, again, like I have a Saturday and I go out and I'm like, okay, well, it's April and I should be continuing on a spray. Like we're planting sunflowers, which it still is row prep, even though the Jank seeder is quick once it's set up. But you still have to set the row up. You have to get the drip lines in. You have to make sure it's all working. And then you have to put the crop in. And, it's like you do that, then you're tired. And then you're like, well, I should have gone in the tunnel and I should have sprayed, some sort of organic pesticide to deal with our aphid problem that's currently pretty regular.
The Lizzies, because they
are
tiny or blah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. And we're just want to focus in on a big, beautiful tunnel and get it set up in a way that I think really allows us to focus in on what is currently the most lucrative season for us.
Yeah.
Which is spring.
Yeah.
And we also we got to get peonies growing here.
We're going to do it, you guys.
And I mean, like that will lead to more opportunities because we'll have experience and then we'll be able to continue to sell peony roots because they grow well here in Oklahoma.
And we can sell wholesale peonies because like, other people haven't mastered peonies. There's like 2 people that I can buy peonies from in like all of the greater Tulsa area in any volume. So it's like there's an opportunity there for us. I mean, it's just spring is...
Yeah, we'll offset whatever summer would bring us with lots of other ideas because, I mean, at the end of the day, you're developing a brand, you're developing a market, and you're developing people you can reach out and say, like, I've got this stuff for sale. And people are like, I want it. I mean, like your market's big enough that you're like, we got some old 6-inch fabric that we've burned that we're no longer going to use because we're not going to be growing a lot of zinnias anymore, or 9-inch fabric. And people are like, I want to buy it. And it's like you get a good deal on something that'll have a couple more years of life and still be useful at suppressing the grasses. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities that I think will be far more lucrative for us. And it's hard, like we're just rambling here about the big change.
We get it. You hate zinnias. And yes, that is the summary of this video. Eric has asked me.
But the other news is like, and like, I'd be curious, in the comments, let us know, like, do you find truly, like, people love a field of sunflowers? I think it's an ethos. I think like if you had a U-pick model and you had
love pictures.
But that's what U-pick would be. Like people would take their pictures in it and like you set your field up and like you had a business model and, we just don't have enough land to do a U-pick because it would require parking, stuff like that. But if you did, I think that's a model that could potentially work with sunflowers because then people are like, well, cool, I get to go in them. I get to get pictures of them. I think here people are like, the end product isn't as compelling as being in the field to them. It doesn't substitute it, but they love seeing it.
Yeah.
But it's just not, or it's not selling. So I'd be curious your thoughts on sunflowers. Most wholesalers don't even buy sunflowers, right?
If you're selling sunflowers for like $1 a stem, like I'm also not interested because like you have to make it profitable. Everyone loves a cheap flower.
Right.
Like what you really need to charge, are they selling?
Right.
Is my question.
Yeah, on all those dynamics of cost. I mean, we're making decisions based upon the labor. Like I'm running the spreadsheets, the cost of the product, the fabric, the drip lines, the labor to put all that stuff and prepare a row, to plan it, to deal with the issues, and then they're a labor intensive harvest where you're doing the wobble. And I think zinnias are another great pick, set it and forget it for people where they just throw in a ton of them.
Yeah.
And they don't care about them because it's just like they put off enough branches that somebody is just going to be happy.
Yeah, because
as far as specialty cut flowers, they are not in that category.
No.
They're not specialty at all.
And all the top growers agree, and they get mad and rant about it in the like private groups. So I know I'm not alone.
Right. The only product I think you'll be sad to not grow because the timing just doesn't help us is going to be your status.
Status.
Wonderful status.
I love status. But it blooms like end of May.
Right.
Which is not, if I wanted to.
Too early for the Lizzies.
Yeah.
But the Lizzies will be our summer product.
Yeah.
And they'll give us that one punch. So, I mean, like, we're trying to do stuff that keeps the cadence alive on marketing, too. So, like, spring's easy. Winter's kind of easy to market because, like, you're just constantly in your tunnel. And a tunnel makes great content with sides up and down and seeing stuff grow. And people are just, like, super interested in the big green. The green under the frost cloth. So, like, you're pumping this out, getting people ready for, and especially here, it's like a short winter because it's not like it is in the north where it's like you shut down in November.
No, it's like December.
And you have until May. Yeah. It's like we have this like push because it's pretty mild up to Christmas here.
Yeah.
And people are not super wintered out, but then like we get cold January, February, March. Like, but that's a quick burst, and we got tulip progress, and like that's fun for us too on the farm.
Yeah.
We also want, like, this tunnel is going to be a lot more labor to build, but once it's done, it's going to be so much easier from a labor perspective to do, like, sides up and down as a ratchet system, and I'm probably going to get, like, electric motors and just have it, the kids can press a button and it's, like, sides up and down. You know, it's going to have the thermostat-controlled fan up top, so it's just, like, way less work.
No, it's gonna be awesome, and it's gonna be fun sharing too, because I mean, we work towards this.
For those of you asking, we didn't go the NRCS grant route, and we'll talk all about that probably in future videos, and not to artificially extend this. Yeah,
I'm excited about next year. I feel a burden lifted,
but that's part of the reason. Like we've had lots of, like, this summer was like, it was a hard flower year. And we felt like we were pulled in too many different directions. And again, like, it goes back. I mean, like, we don't keep adding flowers to our crop list. We keep making the list smaller.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting it down. And, like, you do have to think, like, this is like any business that sells products. Like, each product takes quite a bit of attention. You could throw a lot in the ground and just say, like, I just put more in the ground than I'll ever get. And you don't really process, you know, am I getting 20% of that row? Am I getting 40%?
7.
So that's like half.
It's half of what we were at.
We're going to introduce one new flower next year. What is it?
Stock. Because we're going to have a fancy tunnel. And so I want to trial it because it blooms when we need more stems. So I'm not going to do a ton.
And we weren't great with the, what is it? Canterbury bells. What do you call them?
We're going to do campanula.
Campanula.
We're going to do a better job though next year.
Right.
Because
but again,
won't get drowned.
They were in an area getting drowned. And then they were in an area that, well, they just kept getting drowned, right? That's what happened. Some of that's unique to this year. I mean, like, we got big rains late June.
Well. No, campanula is going to be fire next year. I'm calling it now. It's going to be good.
It's a huge amount of reasons and a huge amount of calculus to just summarize here in this video.
But the reason we want to share it is not because we want to just like share every nitty gritty detail about our life, but more so
make the hard choices.
Yeah, as an example of questions to ask yourself for your farm and your situation, your growing climate, your customers, the stresses you're experiencing or not. These are the conversations Eric and I have together in order to come to these conclusions. And so I think it's important to share like those, you know, those boardroom meeting.
Yeah, it's not just clickbait. It's I mean, there are plenty of farms who are like, I just focus on one season.
Well, let me add this because it is relevant.
Okay.
Everything that we're going to grow for our summer burst is going to be grown in our tunnel.
Yep.
So that's also a component of like getting the stress out of the field and the drama of the winds and the rain and the threat of hail constantly and all of that. It's like we're picking crops that we can protect and baby in our tunnel so that they're also extra premium in our conditions.
Yeah, everything grows well in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And that's why we decided to buy the extra length. Then we probably, if we put some stuff back out in the fields. But we're also turning our annuals field into our next peony field because it's already got the water, it's already got the drip lines, and so we're just going to turn 8 rows into peonies. And so
and people will see
I'm not hand digging the holes this year, so it's
yeah, I would like Eric to not like actually
throw my back out again.
We're going to be getting help in the fall for all of these wonderful plants.
Yeah.
So our challenge to you is, can you get your crop plan down to single digits? Because I'm thrilled about that. People
All
are
right.
going to be in the comments being like, I grow 37 varieties and it's great.
I mean, like, I get people just love putting this stuff in the earth. I understand.
Oh, I would grow 37 flowers in our cottage garden, 100%. I'd want the whole seed catalog. I want to do all the flowers.
And
But
like,
that's
I get all you flower farmers who do it because you yourself want to experience being in that many varieties and you want the camera pictures and the Instagram stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, from a business perspective, I just don't think growing 35 varieties will ever lead to the right efficient profit. Just not going to happen.
I agree. That's our discussion. Goodbye.